there, this is James and you're watching Tixee Live. And a very good morning to all of you, and all of you a very happy Tuesday. In today's program, I want to talk about the cautious mood that the market is currently in and some of the factors which is making it incredibly cautious. But before we get into that, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand for entering any trade. With that out the way, let's get started. So, caution is the word of the day. That's how the markets are currently acting at the moment, with a lot of caution. And there's a couple of reasons for that, which I'm going to go through now. We have got rising geopolitical tensions, which are a play. It's not the overall reason why the market's in a cautious mood, but it's adding to the mood, because what we have a couple of little things which is occurring. First of all, the United Nations Secretary General has warned that the shelling of Europe's largest nuclear power plant, which is in Ukraine, could have serious consequences. In other words, because obviously the Russian-Ukraine conflict, there is a lot of activity around, like I say, Europe's biggest nuclear power plant, which is in Ukraine, and there has been shelling of some parts of the infrastructure. Now, don't forget, Ukraine is already home to the biggest ever nuclear disaster of all time, which is obviously was Chernobyl. So we know how close that was to having a giant impact, not just Ukraine, but all of Western Europe. So this activity around the largest nuclear power plant is raising quite a bit of concern that we might have something of a similar nature to Chernobyl. So that is sort of giving the market a bit of a cautious feeling. As well as that, Taiwan. Obviously, we all know about last week, Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. But and obviously China's reaction was to do a number of military drills around the island in protest to it. Now, obviously, Taiwan's foreign minister has said China's military drills are a protest, which we already know they're a protest to Nancy Pelosi's visit. And that was one of the scenarios we went through when we were discussing it last week. But what is also added to it, though, he said it's also a preparation for invasion of the island. Now if that was to happen, that would seriously put a serious amount of strain between relationships, which is already strained between two of the biggest the giant economic powers, which is US and China. So that will greatly add to the tensions and raise concern of potential conflict between the two nations. So that is something that's also weighing heavy on the mind of the market. What else is acting with caution at the moment? Well, I'll pull this up on my chart. The sterling, the British pound, is under pressure due to several reasons. One, of course, is Bank of England's dire warning last week. Don't forget, last week after their interest rate decision, they said two very scary things. One, inflation they expect to rise to 13% by October. That's scary. The second thing they said is they expect the UK to fall into recession by Q4. The other thing which is weighing on the minds of the market, certainly for sterling traders, is the concern that Truss will win the leadership challenge in September. As you know, at the moment, it's between Truss and Sunak to become the next leader of the Conservative Party, which in turn means they will become the UK's next Prime Minister. So, hey to you too. Hello to you too. Welcome and thank you for coming. Like I say, so there is a big concern with Truss because she's actually ahead in the poll to win. Now, reason why she's causing a great concern to the market is that the market fears that she has very little experience in handling the economy. The UK's economy is already under massive pressure with obviously the cost of living crisis we've got at the moment, the Brexit concerns that we still have, and let alone other economic factors weighing down, high inflation being another factor. But 9.4%, 9.4% in the UK. But the problem is with Truss, she has comes across a very lack of knowledge of how to handle the economy. In fact, she is pushing for tax cuts in the UK. Everybody likes tax cuts, but not when the government and the systems needs the money to cover things. So how are you going to cover doing tax cuts? I mean, it doesn't seem like the right thing to do at the moment when you're fighting all these obstacles is to cut taxes. How is the government and other authorities supposed to pay for stuff if you cut taxes? So yeah, there is real fear that she may win, and it may put more strain on the sterling. But let's have a quick look at the sterling at the moment. Let's pull it up and have a quick look at it. I mean, this is on a daily chart, okay? So at the moment, on a daily, it's still trading between those two key areas of interest, 1.21976 and 1.20034. So it's still capped between those two levels. If you look at on a 30-minute as well, you can really see, like I say, it is very much range bound at the moment. It's touching the 100-day moving average. It's way under the 200-day moving average. But it is range bound very much at the moment, and which is understandable because we know why it's range bound. I'll talk a bit more about that at the moment. If you look at the euro sterling as well, how that is, obviously the euro benefited last week from that dire warning, or the euro benefit against the sterling, that is, because of the dire warning the Bank of England did after the interest rate decision. It is trading higher at 0.8455. So yeah, the sterling is feeling the pressure at the moment. We look at the guppy, which is the British pound Japanese yen, one of my favorite pairs actually. Again, fairly range bound, seems to be a bit capped at 163.23, but currently trading just below that at 163.10. So yeah, it's still very range bound. But I would expect that to be range bound at the moment, and I'll explain why the market is also acting more cautious and why we're going to see it quite range bound throughout the majority of the session today. And that is, of course, the big one, we're all waiting for. It's not due till tomorrow, unfortunately. We got to wait for it. And that is, of course, the all-important US CPI. The expectation is for it to come in slightly lower than the previous number at 8.7%. The previous reading, of course, was 9.1%. However, one of the tools that the Fed use to try and track inflation is that 8.7 is the general consensus, what analysts and other people generally think. They get together and they get the average, and that's how they come up with the expectation. However, one of the tools that the Fed used to try and track inflation is called the Fed Cleveland Inflation Tracker. Okay, now this inflation tracker currently predicts inflation to come in tomorrow at between 8.82% to 9%, so higher than anticipated. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, the CM Group Fed Watch tool stands at a 68.5% chance of a 75 basis point rate hike in September by the Fed. Now, the reason why we're so excited about the CPI, because of the good job number we had last week, that if we get a really good or a reasonable high reading in the CPI tomorrow, the market will go straight away. We're going to go to a 75 basis point rate hike. And this is what the CME Group Fed Watch tool predicts at the moment, 68 chance of that. This is what it's all about. The inflation is all about what the Fed will do on the back of it. However, Citibank, they have come out and said, if we get a higher than expected reading tomorrow, so higher than 8.7, God forbid above the 9% level, like the UK, Okay, I'll come back to that in 2 seconds. Good question. Hang on, let's say that now. So what currency pair would be a good idea to keep an eye on with sterling between September the 5th, Prime Minister's announcement, and the 15th Bank? But it'd be several pairs. It would be the cable, which is obviously the British pound, US dollar, euro sterling would be key. I love the guppy as well, because obviously the British pound, Japanese yen is a good pair to trade. In fact, I'd always look at the euro sterling and the guppy together because they're quite an interesting hedge trade on that. So those are the three currency pairs I'll be watching between that date. I'm watching it now anyway, because I think obviously the sterling's under pressure. Because of what the Bank of England said yesterday, the trust concerns. Don't forget, there's buy the rumor, sell the fact as well. So there's a lot of build up to that, and as well as that, obviously the CPI is going to have an impact on that. But good question, by the way. Good question. So yeah, Citibank has said a higher than expected reading could lead to 100 basic point rate hike in September. So, like I said, this is why this is such a massive event, because if we do get a really solid reading, a really good reading, then the chances are we are going to see a lot of dollar strength. You're welcome. You're welcome. Potentially see a lot of dollar strength as the market then fears that we're going to get aggressive rate hikes from the Fed again. So we could see a bit of action. So the euro would be potentially under a huge amount of pressure. Cable, gold as well could react to that. Dollar yen could rise. So it's going to be a big event tomorrow. So it's a lot to talk about. And really, like I say, the markets are range bound today, like they often are, when they're waiting for such a huge event to happen. And that is, of course, happening tomorrow. So that is why, obviously, of course, I'm going to be doing a watch along for the US CPI tomorrow. I'll be going on air at 12:20 p.m. UTC. So please come along and join me for that. I really think it could potentially be a really exciting event. We could potentially see a lot of volatility in the market. As usual, don't forget, we'll go through several scenarios before the event happens, and we watch the event together as it unfolds. Anyway, other major events, to be honest, it's all about the US CPI. We do have Germany CPI tomorrow, should be interesting to watch as well. US initial claims, UK GDP will be interesting, it's supposed to come in negative, especially on the back of what the Bank of England said last week, and US Michigan sentiment. So we've got a lot of things to come. But really, it's all about, sorry, throat's a bit dry. It's all about the US CPI tomorrow, and that's going to be a big thing. That's why we're doing a watch along, so please come along and join me. As the market stands, currently the FTSE is negative 0.3%. DAX currently trading exactly where it was yesterday currently, and Eurostoxx 50 currently trading negative 0.05%. So yeah, there we have it. The market cautious today due to those number of reasons I've covered. But really, I think it's going to be cautious and sidewards, unless we get some real breaking news, which, of course, if we do, I'll share with you straight away. But really, it's for the build-up for tomorrow. So don't forget, tixee live, watch along, US CPI tomorrow, Wednesday at 12:20 p.m. UTC. I'll be going online. Don't forget, you can ask me questions anytime you wish, like SMF790 did. So feel free to ask me anything, or simply say hello if you like, or show me your opinion. What do you think about the tensions in Taiwan at the moment? Or what do you think about what the UN General Secretary said about the power plant in Ukraine? Or what do you think about, the leadership battle weighing on the sterling? Is everybody wrong about trust? Maybe she is going to be good. I don't know. Or simply say hi. Okay, no problem. Don't forget, if you think of a question later, okay, you can always put it in the comments below on Facebook or YouTube. I will see them, and I will reply to the question next time I'm online. Talking of which, don't forget, I'm going to be back online again this afternoon at 2 p.m. UTC. So please come and join me for that. We'll discuss the US session, how the US session is opened, and any developments which has happened throughout the day and where the market is at the moment. So, don't forget that. Anywho, if there's no questions, don't forget, as I always say, if you're watching me on Facebook and you've liked this little video, by all means, give us a follow. If you're watching me on YouTube and you've enjoyed this little video, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. If you enjoyed this video and put up with me, my over-the-top enthusiasm for the markets, give me one of those. It's nice to know that you like what I do. But anyway, till next time, don't forget these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.